Hi, I'm the Rap Critic, and since the fans out there really liked my breakdown of Remy Ma and Nicki Minaj's beef, I wanted to cover the biggest beef in hip-hop of the 21st century, Jay-Z versus Nas. Jay-Z's Takeover versus Nas's Ether. Now, people have gone back and forth for over a decade now, arguing over who had won, right? And bar for bar, I wanted to break down percentage-wise who had the better diss track. So let's start with who shot first, Jay-Z in Takeover. Jay-Z comes in with this, I know you're missing all the... And he samples the sound of the David Bowie's Fame. And it's just, that first sound, it just... the tone of it is just so mocking that it just fucking hurts. Now, keep in mind at this point, Nas had been becoming more and more irrelevant as time had gone on with each album that he had put out after Illmatic. And this was supposed to be like the nail in the coffin for his career, right? So for him to start off with, I know you're missing all the fame, and just to like say it like that was just so fucking mean. But then the follow-up where he's like, but along with celebrity comes about 70 shots to your frame. It's just like, okay, I don't know what that means. Like, did you shoot him 70 times? No, you didn't. Like, that's not real. But then when he just goes, you are lame, it just hits again. There's just something about that, like, the first two times it happens, it's just fucking just cold. You know, and then he says you're the fag model for Coconut Esco ads, which doesn't really hit as hard because it's like, oh, you were a model in an ad, like, so the assumption being that, oh, if you're a model you must be gay, but it just doesn't work. Like, it doesn't make any sense, because especially like if you're a model on like a big billboard that's going to be seen in New York, it's like, that actually is showing how he is relevant. Because if a, company thinks that he's relevant enough to be marketed on a billboard, that means he is, important, at least to someone. So it just kind of takes away the hit, and also just for it just be relying on, oh, you're gay because you modeled clothing, is just not really that smart of a shot. But then he comes at him with these next lines, man. Had a spark when you started, but now you're just garbage. Fell from top 10 to not mentioned at all until your bodyguard's Uchi Wally verse is better than yours. So there was a song called Uchi Wally that Nas put out, and a lot of people said that the bodyguard, who was Horse, I think was his name, he had the better verse than Nas, who's supposed to be one of the best rappers alive. So it's just like, ooh, man, that looks bad when someone who doesn't even rap is outshining you, bruh. And then just following up, matter of fact, you had the worst flow of the whole fucking song. But the next line where he says, but I know the sun don't shine if sun don't shine, it just doesn't really hit that hard. Like, is that a thing that Nas said? That's not really, like, he's saying, oh, the sun, like, oh, there's not a day where you don't shine, Nas, huh? Like, I don't know what he was trying to say. Was he trying to say, oh, you're a gloat and you always have to have the glory? It's like, that doesn't really... it doesn't really hit that hard for coming at Nas. Like, he's not really known for being like a prideful guy as much as you are, Jay-Z. Like, definitely not. So, like, that just doesn't work as hard. So he keeps coming at him. He says, you ain't live it. You witnessed it from your folks' pad. You scribbled in your notepad and created your life. Now, with this is kind of coming at Nas, kind of starting off as the sort of like, I'm the quiet, ghetto poet who's just telling people about, what's going on in this life in the hood. And then all of a sudden he's Nas Escobar, like the drug dealer. So, yeah, I'm the drug kingpin. And he's kind of going like, bro, no, you didn't. Like, you didn't do any of that shit you were saying you're doing, So just sort of calling him out on all that. And then he goes in, where he says, I showed you your first tech on the tour with Large Professor. Now, this story has actually been corroborated, so it's just like, okay. Now, Jay-Z is sort of kind of reaching by going like, oh, then I heard your album about the tech on the dresser. So, like, you didn't even know what this gun was before, but now all of a sudden you're talking about it on your album. Now, whether or not that's true, we don't know, but just the fact that he's using that here to discredit him as someone who knows about that gangster shit. So it's like, it works because, like, it doesn't necessarily need to be true. It just needs to hurt. You know what I mean? And then he goes, yeah, I sampled your voice. You was using it wrong. You made it a hot line. I made it a hot song. Now, this is in reference to the Dead Presidents song where Jay-Z sampled Nas's voice because he originally wanted him to come in and record it himself, but for whatever reason he didn't, and Jay-Z sort of took that as a sign of disrespect. So he was like, fuck it, I'll just sample it. And Nas got kind of tight about that because he was like, yo, dude, like, I didn't want you to do that. And he was like, but fuck it, I thought that was hot, so I did it. And him going on to say, you made it a hot line, I made it a hot song. Now that is sort of showing like, yeah, you have good ideas, but I know how to make them make fucking money. Like, I know how to do this shit. And that's really hitting him, you know, really deep where it matters. You know what I mean? Like, I know how to make these hits and you don't. And then he goes on to say, because, you know, some people say like, oh, you needed to sample my voice in order to make a hot hit. You know, you're paying me, huh? Yeah, I'm dissing you because you had to give me money. But he covers his bases. He's like, you didn't get a coin, nigga. You was getting fucked then. I know who got paid, Searchlight Publishing. So, I think MC Search had, you know, was sort of like the mentor for Nas at the time. And what he's saying is that I paid his company and not you, and you were getting screwed on royalties in this, that, and the third. So it's like, not only did I use your shit, you're not even getting paid. Like, obviously you're not a boss like I am, you know? So that's the sort of hit there. But then this is where it sort of goes downhill. It sucks, but this is what happens. So he says, use your brain. You said you'd been in this 10, then I've been in it 5. Smarten up, Nas. 4 albums in 10 years, nigga. I could divide. Now, the thing that he's saying here is he's going like, oh, you only had 4 albums in 10 years. Now, this is around 2001, either 2000 or 2001, and Nas had only been around since 94 for his first album, Illmatic. But what he's counting is, I guess, the first time he ever did a featured verse, and that was in 91 with was it Back to the Grill or just the Grill, the song he did with MC Search. So it's like, okay, well, if you're counting the 3 years where he didn't put out an album at all, that kind of messes things up. And then also, if you think about it, like, okay, your first album came out in 96. Now you're counting when albums come out for you, but not for him. Because if you counted it for him, he's only been in it for 6 years. But you're counting it for you, where you've only been in it for 5 at this point with, I think it's 1996's Reasonable Doubt. So if you really want to go back to the first time you ever did a featured verse, you'd have to go back to Hawaiian Sophie in 1998. So technically, throughout your whole career, you haven't put out as many solid albums since 1988. So it's just like, I just don't like how he measures it there, and it just sort of takes it away. Like, I know there's the element of like, oh, you know, lying, but that's something that we can verify. So it just kind of takes away the validity if it's something that we can immediately know, you know? So yeah, that kind of sucks. But then he goes, 4 albums in 10 years, I can divide. That's one every, and then this line, he says, that's one every, let's say 2. 2 of them shits was due. Like, what is he saying here? Like, oh, you should have put out 2 more albums in that time. It's just, I don't know. This is not really that strong of a point, you know? But then he says, one was, yeah, the other was Illmatic. That's fucking hard. It's like, one was okay, you know, and the other one was Illmatic. It's like, and I know this isn't true, but still, just going, that's a one hot album every 10-year average. Just the way he says that, the way his voice works on a lot of this track is just hurts. And then the follow up with the nigga, that's so lame. Nigga, switch up your flow. Your shit is garbage. It's just mean, cold blooded. And then, oh, what you try to kick knowledge? He's like, oh, you try to be a smarty art rapper? Is that what you trying to do? And he's like, man, you gonna learn to respect the king. Don't be the next contestant on that Summer Jam screen, cause you know who did you know what with you know who. But let's keep that between me and you. Ooh, devastating, my friends. So we already know what dirt he had on Mobb Deep, even though honestly looking back on it, it's really not that bad. It's like, oh no, as a kid, Prodigy or whoever from Mobb Deep was wearing like, I don't know, like Michael Jackson clothes or something like that. It's like, oh, that's the worst thing ever. But I guess like, oh, he's supposed to be a hardcore thug his whole life. So I guess that's sort of what takes away from his validity. But, you know, basically what he's saying is like, yeah, if I have something on him, yeah, I could have something on you too. And then following it up with the vagueness, but if you know what went on behind the scenes, the specificity with what he's trying to say, like, it's well known at this point that Jay-Z apparently had an affair with Nas's girlfriend at the time, Carmen. And so he's kind of going like, I might have some footage of that too, so you might want to chill before I release it, bro. And it's just like, oh, shit. So that one was just the way to end it. And then just the odd class with which he ended it. Like, I didn't need to say anything specific, but you know Nas, don't you? It's just, ooh. So yeah, overall, 25 hits, 18 sort of like big hits versus the misses, and kind of a -1 for it's strong, but it's not really related to like dissing. I mean, not specifically because he had to diss a whole bunch of other guys, but just the idea of like the chorus doesn't really like hit as strong as it could be about dissing someone. You know what I mean? So overall 78%. Now, when I saw that, I was like, this one might be over, But I was like, all right, in the interest of fairness, let's look at this other track, see how he does it. Nas comes in, you hear the gunshots, and then you hear the sample of Tupac saying, fuck Jay-Z, just to hammer in the point of like, even the legends don't like you. It's just like, oh shit. And then the chorus, which gets an auxiliary point here. I'll fuck with your soul like ether. Will teach you the king. You know you not. God set across the belly. Lose. I prove you lost already. Yo. I fuck with your soul like ether. See, this is how you know this is a classic diss song. This has become a staple of, like, when you make something into a catchphrase, like, no one ever says like, oh, he took over that person after that battle. No, you say he got ethered after a battle. You know what I mean? Like, that has become the staple of what people say when someone has gotten sunned in a battle, guys, if you're making diss songs, man, step that chorus game up, man. So he comes in and he says, brace yourself for the main event. Y'all impatiently waiting. Of course, people have been waiting for that diss song to come back. But then he goes like, it's like an AIDS test. What's the result? Not positive. Like, okay. What are you? He's like, oh, it's not positive. Huh? I mean, and it doesn't really work because it's like, you can kind of get the sense that like, well, if I would have said negative, it would have sounded like it doesn't. We don't have AIDS, or Jay-Z doesn't have AIDS. I don't really know what he's trying to say. Like, oh, the result is that it's not positive because I'm gonna come back and get you. But if he said it's positive, it would be like, wait, you do have AIDS, but he's trying to say it's not positive that I'm gonna diss you. It just doesn't work. So yeah. But then he goes like, who's the best? Pac, Nas, and Big. Ain't no best. Now, see, here he's going like, I'm on par with these guys, and between the three of us, there is no person who's better than us. And these legends that have died, I'm saying that I'm on par with them. I'm not saying I'm better than them. I'm saying that like, you got to give me respect like you gave them respect. Then he goes east, west, north, south, flossed out, greedy. It's just, in fact, the next couple of lines are just kind of like, he's not really saying anything. It's just like imagery for the sake of imagery. Like, I embrace y'all with napalm, blows up, no guts left, chest face gone, and how can Nas be garbage? Semi-autos at your cartilage. Just like, that doesn't really mean it. It's like, how can I be a bad rapper? I'm aiming a gun at you. Like, that doesn't, like, what is that? That has no relevance, you know what I mean? But then when he follows it up in the next line where he says, the burner at the side of your dome, come out of my throne. I got this lock since 9-1. I am the truest. Name a rapper that I ain't influenced. Because all rappers, at least for like the longest period of time, especially at this point, everyone was saying, oh yeah, I love Illmatic. I'm influenced by Illmatic. So he's just like, so name someone that I haven't influenced, bro. Now, see, what's smart about Nas is, with Jay-Z, he just does the hits. And Nas has hits here too. But Jay-Z was just punching, getting into things that were disparaging. Nas works differently. He builds himself up first and then hits you with the punch. So I could see how people say it doesn't hit as strong because where's the really obvious hits that I can immediately understand and get at. But when he's saying stuff like this, like name a rapper that I ain't influenced, that isn't a diss to Jay-Z. That's just building himself up for the tidal wave of hits that are going to come. And especially with the I gave y'all chapters, but now I keep my eyes on the Judas. Of course, going into the idea of him calling himself, God's son, saying that he's, Jesus Christ. So he said, now I'm keeping my eye on the guy who will betray me. And then specifically, my eye on the Judas with Hawaiian Sophie fame, who kept my name in his music. Now, this one is getting into him deep because Jay-Z's supposed to be, street hustler, I'm hard, homie. And then, wait, we have this footage of you in this corny-ass late 80s piece of cheese called Hawaiian Sophie that he did with Jazz-O. And you just see him and he's like, he gets like a harness. He's in a harness that like pulls him down and then pulls him back up again. He just looks ridiculous. It's just like, wow, yeah, that is not gangsta, Jay-Z. That is totally not gangsta. So it's just kind of like, yeah, remember this corny shit you did? Yeah, don't forget about that. And also, you're the guy who kept my name in your music. Like, you needed me to be cool. You used my coolness to elevate yourself by using that sample. You know what I mean? So we go into the next verse. He says, I've been fucked over, left for dead, distant, forgotten. Luck ran out. They thought that I'd be gone, stiff and rotten. Now, I like this because, once again, it's not just about the direct disses. It's about building it up. He knows what the climate was at the time. He knows that, his critical acclaim was sort of falling down. So he's saying, like, I know that you guys were thinking this, but this is the shit that's going to bring me back. And, I mean, if Stillmatic would have failed, then these bars would have been bad because it would have been like, oh, wait, no, you still suck. But people really did say that he came back with Stillmatic, so it kind of adds to the validity. Like, you thought I had nothing left, but here I am again. Then he goes into this line where he says, y'all just piss on me, shit on me, spit on my grave. Once again, I'm cool with like giving you points for the building up lines, but it's like by the third line, it's just like, all right, come on, you got to give me something. But then he goes into, specificity. You talk about me, laugh behind my back, but in my face, y'all some well wishes, friendly acting, envy, hiding snakes. And that could obviously be applied to Jay-Z. Like, there was a time when they were friends. So it's just like, why the hell are you dissing me now? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But then he goes like, with your hands out for my money, man, how much can I take? Now, if you're not being specific about, a specific event, like I can understand how in general you're talking about Jay-Z, like, oh, you're a snake and you're talking about me behind my back, but you're cool with me to my face. But for you to say like, your hands out for my money, man, how much can I take? Like, dude, we know for a fact Jay-Z was not asking you for money. Like, that's just a fact of life. You will not be able to make me believe that Jay-Z was asking you for money, bro. So it just doesn't work as well. But then he goes like, when these streets keep calling, heard that when I was asleep, that this Gazy and Cockafella Records wanted beef. Now, I gave it a point for the first line. It was like, the streets keep telling me that, while I'm dormant, someone's trying to take me down. But then it's like this Gazy and Cockafella Records, because he's gay. It's just like, that just doesn't work. Like, just simple name calling like that. I don't know. It's not as clever as it could be. Now, there's another, reference to him and his record label being gay here. And like, I feel like that works a little better because it's more insidious. But this just saying, do Gazy, it's just like, just relying on just a simple, play on words for him being gay. I think that's just lame, But now when he's saying I started cocking up my weapon, slowly loading up the ammo to explode it on a camel and his soldiers, I can handle this for Dolo. Now, here we just have his wordplay plus imagery of him saying, he's going to load up, the lyrical weapon, of course, and explode it on the camel, which, Jay-Z, a little bit kind of looks like the Joe Camel guy, So yeah, totally. People can gravitate towards that. See, it's like if he would have just started with this, it would have hit, but it wouldn't have hit as hard if it weren't for the build up, you know? And I think that's what he really does here in a smart way. And then he goes and like, you know, and your manuscript just sounds stupid when KRS already made an album called Blueprint, which is sort of saying like, you're a biter. You bite people who are greater than you. You take their styles. Like someone already had that album, and now you're just gonna have the exact same album title. Like, you know, think about like even now it would be lame if two rappers came out with, you know, similar album titles. It'd be like, dude, why are you doing that? And yeah, especially back then when it was important to have your own style. For you to be like, oh, you're calling yourself the Blueprint, as in to say like, oh, this is the blueprint for success in hip hop, when you know somebody who is a veteran of hip hop just made that album. I mean, not just made that album, but, you know, made it a couple of years prior. And then once again, where he says, first Biggie's your man, then you got the nerve to say that you better than Big. With your dick sucking lips, why don't you let the late great veteran live? Ugh. Okay, so he's going in because Jay-Z apparently had a line where he's like, if I'm not better than Big, then I'm, you know, on his level. And that's basically a nice way of saying, I think I'm better than him. But, you know, if you don't want to say I'm better than him, you could at least say I'm on his level. See, Nas sort of, you could say he paid respect in the way that he was like, you know, I'm on their level, you know. But Jay-Z was being slick by going like, if I'm not better, which I believe I am better, wink, wink, then, you know, you could be, you know, I guess I could be modest and say that I'm as good as them. You know what I mean? And so, and especially since he said like, Biggie was your man, then you got the nerve to say you're better than him. It's like your friend just fucking died. Like, how the fuck are you going to do that? And there's this whole thing of like, you know, Jay-Z would sample his lines in his songs, and, you know, one or two times is like cool, I guess, but it would just be like he would keep doing it in a way that's like, okay, dude, it feels like you're trying to like just do the callback just to be like, huh, remember that guy? Yeah, I'm as great as him because I'm using his voice, you know? So, using his lines, you know? This third verse, yo, shit's devastating, bruh. You niggas deal with emotions like bitches. Just going in, like, just the, you know, because that wasn't like a diss. It wasn't like something directly like, look at this specific thing you did wrong. It's just like in general, like for you to do this whole diss song and do all this shit, man, why are you dealing with, you dealing with your emotions like a little bitch right now. Like, and just the way he delivers it. You niggas deal with emotions like bitches. And then, now the way he sons him, I think this is how you son somebody. The next couple of bars sound like someone who's just fucking disappointed in their son. Like, you know, it's that sort of, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed that you're not doing better. He says, what's sad is I love you because you're my brother. You traded your soul for riches. My child, I've watched you grow up to be famous, and now I smile like a proud dad watching his only son that made it. But you seem to be only concerned with dissing women. Were you abused as a child? Scared to smile? Did they call you ugly? I was like, oh shit. See, it's not mean. It just sounds more like it's just like, I'm just trying to help you right now, man. It's even more mean when it doesn't sound like it's trying to be mean, you know? Well, life is harsh, man. Hug me. Don't reject me or make records to disrespect me, blatant or indirectly. Like, just like calling him out. Like, he's not saying, fuck you for doing that. He's just like, hey, man, you know, I know life is hard, but you know, don't diss someone who's trying to help you, you know? and then bringing it back, son, once again, in '88, you was getting chased to your building, calling my crib, and I didn't even give you my number. Like, wow, you know, now that I think about it, you were kind of a stan, weren't you, man? I didn't even give you my number, and somehow you found it specifically because you were in such peril that you needed my help, you know? And now we don't 100% know if this is true. We have no validity for this, but the point is, you know, he makes you believe it in the song. You know what I mean? So, yeah, and he says, all I did was give you a staff for you to run with. And of course, you know, harkening back to like, you know, before Jay-Z sort of came out with his album, before he was kind of like I'm a speed rapper, I'm the best rapper, the lyrical. He was a lyrical miracle type of rapper, you know what I mean? But when it came to his debut, after Nas put out Illmatic, all of a sudden he chilled out with his flow and he started making, you know, cooler sounding lyrics and whatnot. You know, he kind of went from a sort of a Busta Rhymes to a P. Diddy, if you will. You're smiling in my face. You were glad to break bread with the God. Wearing Jazz's chains, no text, no cash, no cars. And he's sort of harkening back, going like, yeah, remember when you were a humble MC? Remember when you weren't the big bad guy you were? Yeah, remember when you needed my help with this, that, and the third, you know? And he's saying like, no jail bars, Jigga, no pause, no case, just Hawaiian shirts, hang it with Lil Chase. Once again, not letting him hear the end of that fucking Hawaiian Sophie video. And this is where he starts giving him the tidal wave of hits. You a fan, a phony, a fake, a pussy, a stand. I'll still whoop your ass. You 36 in a karate class? Now, Jay-Z wasn't 36 at this point, but just the fact that he's just like, you're a grown-ass man taking a class in a McDojo, bruh. You know? So, and apparently that was a thing where he actually took like Taibo classes. Now, I don't know why it's bad to take Taibo classes, but it's just like the way he says it just automatically makes me think of like 36-year-old Jay-Z in a karate class with a bunch of like 12-year-olds like, I need to learn how to fight. And it's just like, dude, come on. Like, I'll whoop your ass, you know. The 36 in a karate class worked, but calling him a hoe for doing Taibo, like, it's just kind of weird. But then he says, you ask me if I'm trying to kick knowledge? Nah, I'm trying to kick that shit you need to learn, though. Now, see, that's the way he hit him with that was that like, you know, oh, you think I'm just a smarty art rapper just trying to sound smart. No. I'm trying to give you shit that is vital for your fucking life. That's what I do when I make raps. I don't rap smart shit just to sound smart. I do it because my music is meaning something. I love how he twisted that on him. Actually, I'm kind of feeling like I should take away the point that I gave for Jay-Z on the last song just because of how he was able to flip that shit, you know? He was able to do a twist of the arm to make Jay-Z punch himself with that line. You know, so he said, that ether, that shit that make your soul burn slow. And then he lays into him here talking about Dame Dash's and Jay-Z's relationship at the time because Dame was sort of the producer. And he's saying, is he Dame Diddy, Dame Daddy, or Dame Dummy? Oh, I get it. You're Biggie and he's Puffy. And sort of saying that like, oh, you're just trying to copy his style completely, aren't you? Right down to, you know, the record label guy, you know, being in all your videos and all that shit. Is that how that works, huh? Now with this next line, Rockefeller died of AIDS. That was the end of his chapter. And that's the guy y'all gonna name your company after? Now, a lot of people say like, wait a minute, Rockefellers, wasn't that like turn of the century? Pretty sure AIDS was not around then. But no, what he's actually referring to is a street hustler from the 80s named Rockefeller who apparently died of AIDS. And now, this is where it gets more insidious with the diss song. And once again, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, like, if you're making a diss song, you got to make it hurt. You know what I mean? So with him saying, like, you know, this guy was supposed to be a hustler and supposed to be, like, real smart. But at the end of the day, you see where he met his demise. And it's like, and it kind of sounds like you guys are just about to follow into that by cursing yourself, by naming yourself after this guy. You know what I mean? And of course, there's also the sort of gay accusation of being like, well, he had AIDS. It's the gay people's disease. And I mean, you know, that's sort of lame in and of itself, but it's more insidious than just being like, Gay-Z, Rockefeller Records. It's being like, oh, you're naming yourself after this guy, and sort of saying like, you've pre-cursed yourself by naming yourself after this. And of course, that could come with, you know, latent homophobia laced inside of it. But the point is, overall, he's saying you're naming yourself after a company that's going to lose by naming yourself after someone who lost. You know what I mean? And then it's kind of funny where he just like put it together. Like, I rock hoes, y'all rock fellas. I know. It's stupid to be like, you're like, well, you dissed him for the earlier line, but see, this one's smarter in it being, you know, horrible with its homophobia. Like, instead of just going Gay-Z, Rockefeller Records, it's like, put it together, son. I rock the hoes, y'all rock the fellas. And then, ooh, Foxy Brown. So this is a girl that he had signed back in the late 90s, Jay-Z. And, you know, she was really the big hot thing. You know, she was going to be the next Lil' Kim. Let's be real. She was supposed to be the next Lil' Kim. And he's like, Foxy got you hot because you kept your face in the puss. Oh, what? You think you're getting girls now because of your looks? Negro, please. You know mustache having with whiskers like a rat compared to beans you whacked. God. Oh, man. Compared to the guy who's supposed to be under you, you're whack. So don't even fucking front. Like, you know who's supposed to be on top. You know what I mean? You know who's supposed to be getting more shine, but you won't let him because you know he's better than you. And then at least he can actually grow a fucking mustache on like your ass. It's like, Jesus. little whiskers like a rat. Hey, you is a rat too, ain't you? It's like, oh, goddamn. And then, and your man stabbed Un and made you take the blame. Now, Jay-Z claimed that he actually took credit for this and was willing to go down for this, which, respectful in and of itself. But people are saying, the sort of rumor around that time, when the facts are still unfolding, is that like, oh man, you're a fool. Someone else did a crime and you're the fall guy. Like that makes you look, like an idiot for having to take credit for this. It paints you as an underling to someone else. You know what I mean? And then he says, you ass, you went from Jazz to hanging with Kane to Irv to Big, basically just calling him someone who's just jumping from person to person to try to get fame, and he has no real loyalties with anyone, And then he goes, and Eminem murdered you on your own shit. You a dick riding maggot. You love the attention. Oh. Look. A lot of people, there's a lot of heated debate about who won that, and that's not even like a diss or anything. It's just like on Renegades, who had the better verse. A lot of people say it's Eminem because his was a lot more quick paced and had a lot more punches. And then he ends it with, Queens niggas run you niggas. Ask Russell Simmons. And just a little ha. Just the sort of like, this harkens back to just like the beginning of hip hop and saying like, which borough really represents and really, brought hip hop to prominence to where it is. And it's him saying so, oh, you think Brooklyn is where it's at, huh? Well, isn't it a dude from Queens that runs your whole label? So, let's really look at who runs hip hop. You know what I mean? And especially who runs your ass, And then, flips the chorus on it for the end. Oh, man. Unforgiving, man. Where he flips the fucking, the chorus of ROC. We running this rap shit. ROC gets gunned up and clapped quick, just for the way he was able to invert his own chorus and hit him with it. And then the JJ Evans get gunned up and clapped quick. Just the dissonant for the sort of, I mean, everyone disses Jay-Z for the big lips thing, but he was just like, yo, you little caricature ass looking motherfucker. And for those who don't know, J.J. Evans was a character on Good Times who was known for being like, really silly. And he also had like, big lips and things like that. So just like dissing him for looking like a caricature, He says, your whole damn record label gunned up and clapped quick. As a reference to him saying like, oh, I'm going to mention every person on our label, say we're running shit like, well, your whole damn record label's going to get this heat. and then for him to say, Sean Carter to Jay-Z, damn you on Jazz dick. So him sort of saying like, your name is Sean Carter. How do you get Jay-Z from Sean Carter? Oh, it's because you ripped off your name from the guy who was your superior back in the day, huh? And then he's just like, so little shorty's getting gunned up and clapped quick. It's just kind of repetitive at that point. But then how much of Biggie's rhymes is going to come out your fat lips? You wanted to be on every last one of my classics. Ooh, dude. Oh my God. And like, what's great about that is that the validity comes from the fact that like, well, you sampled my voice on this one song. I know you wanted to do more because you're just a fucking stan who wishes that you were as cool as I am, And then
you pop shit, apologize, nigga. Just ask Kiss.
Oh. So apparently Jay-Z would do little sneak disses to Jadakiss, who's another rapper from the time, and then he would like 2-way him later on and be like, hey, I dissed you, I didn't mean it like that though, I thought about it and I'm sorry. He's calling him out and being like, yeah, you need to do what you did with him and fucking apologize. And then also just the fact that you're pop shit, you're not really about, you're pop shit, so fucking apologize for that. Apologize for being a fucking sellout. And it's just devastating way to end it. So like, now some could say that, oh, I slept with your girl, like that should be the bigger diss, but just the fact that it's just like, you're a sellout and you're fucking, you have no conviction because you apologize right after you diss someone, so do it again like we know you're going to. And it's just like, oh shit. But when I put it all together, for Nas's Ether, for lines that hit versus lines that didn't, Nas gets an 86% out of 100. So, yes, in my eyes, Nas ethered Jay-Z. It was close. He didn't ether him by that much, but he did it. So you got to give props to Jay-Z for being able to hit as many times as he did. He came up like that's not even a 10% difference. But Nas just got you, man. He just had enough hits percentage-wise to just edge you out. So yeah, it was a great battle, and I'm glad to see that actually since then they've totally like made up, and not even sort of like a, oh, I guess we're cool now, but like, you know, they've collabed on records. You know, Nas even signed to his label at one point. You know, like, so they're all good now. But you know, I just wanted definitively, especially since you guys, I put out like a poll to see, you know, what did you guys want to see me do? I thought you guys might have wanted to see me do Drake versus Meek, but I guess we know who won that shit. But you know, in case it was still up in the air, Rap Critic, hey, for my money, this is who I'm saying who won, you know? And I guess we could argue over which lines really hit, you know, because it's arguable. It's not like everything was a pop hit, you know. There were some things that were building it up, and some people could argue over that. But for me, for my money's on Nas for ethering Jay-Z. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and catch you next time.